Good evening, fellow collectors. April 21st, 2010. And in tonight's video, we're going to expose some really bad Babe Ruth forgeries on the Coach's Corner auction site. But the first thing we're going to do is, once again, Coach's Corner has up for auction 2 cut autographs of Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow. If you remember, back in December of last year, they had a very similar offering. It was like the same forger as doing this one, and it sold for a whopping $236. And in that particular auction, Stat Authentic, Ted Taylor and Jeff Stevens authenticated the Clyde Barrow, but did not authenticate the Bonnie Parker. Who knows why? Anyway, when it comes to these two signatures, either they're both going to be bad or they're both going to be good. And one thing I can tell you, these are both bad. There are some obvious reasons why the Bonnie Parker is bad. I'm not going to say why, of course, although it's pretty obvious if you do any kind of research whatsoever. And the second thing is, you know, on the Coach's Corner auction site, shill bidding is allowed. People can bid on their own stuff. And like I will always say, if this stuff on a Coach's Corner auction site is really authentic, why don't those guys over there like Lee Trithall and Scott Malik, or even Ted Taylor and Jeff Stevens, why don't they buy this stuff themselves, send it over to PSA or JSA, get it authenticated, and then send it out to a major auction house and make $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 or $5,000 more on each item than what they would normally get selling it on the Coach's Corner auction site. Think about that. How about some common sense? You know why? They don't dare send this stuff to PSA or JSA. That Bonnie Parker, first of all, is again a copy of that Highway Patrol fingerprint document that's got Bonnie Parker's signature on there that is not authentic. And whoever forging this is doing the same thing, copying that Highway Patrol fingerprint document. This is item number $799 and is up to a whopping $229. The one that sold in December sold for a whopping $236. What does that tell you? That tells you that real Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow historians and collectors aren't bidding on this crap. They're not bidding on this garbage. There's a good reason why they're not bidding on this garbage. And I want to know, who's the consigner? Where did they get this from? Huh? That's a good question that we all want to know. Of course, Lee Trithall and Scott Malik, who continue to flood the market with a bunch of forgeries, thousands every year, aren't going to tell us, even though they kind of say, well, if anybody wants to know who the consigner is, you know, we'll let you know. We'll let the buyer know. I don't think that ever happens. Anyway, let's go on to some other stuff. This lot number 1, this Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, all kinds of Yankees on there. Lot number 1, authenticated by guess who? Stat Authentic. Look how ugly that Babe Ruth is. Authenticated by the Clowns of Authentication, Stat Authentic, Ted Taylor and Jeff Stevens. How about this one here? This one here is a real winner. Lot number 8. Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, signed bat. Authenticated by guess who? Stat Authentic. This is about a $50,000 item that is right now going nowhere. It's pathetic, it's ugly, and it's 2 forgeries. Presented to you by Scott Malik and Lee Trithall of Coach's Corner. Lot number 12, another one from Stat Authentic. Another Babe Ruth forgery, really bad. None of this stuff is going to pass PSA or JSA authentication. And you know why? Because if it would pass PSA authentication, these guys would send it there and then send it off to a real auction house. How about this one? Oh, this is a real winner. Lot number 40. Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth signed softball. Wow. Look at that ugly piece of crap, huh? Every month, Coach's Corner's got about a dozen or so Babe Ruth autographs. Of course, they're forgeries that nobody else has, and none of them are ever authenticated by the major authentication service. Now look at this ugly thing. This is horrible. It's authenticated by Morales. Lot number 221. And look at those ugly Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig signatures. They are just pitiful. How do people bid on this? As a matter of fact, I think this one here, I don't think there's any bids on it. That's how bad it is. Lot number 222. Another bad Babe Ruth. Authenticated by guess who? Yes, Stat Authentic. If nobody else will authenticate it, Ted Taylor and Jeff Stevens says, we'll authenticate it for you. We'll get the job done. Just give us $25. I don't know, whatever that is. All right, here's another Coach's Corner piece of garbage. Lot number 312. Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner. Authenticated by Chris. I never saw an autograph I didn't like. Morales. You gotta love that Ty Cobb. That's just pitiful. Jesus, I mean, some of this stuff is just really, really bad. I mean, it's, you know, you can tell when it's really, like, methodically done. You know, people don't methodically sign anything. Lot number 313, another bad Babe Ruth. Authenticated by Chris Morales. Really, really ugly. And I'm going to show you a really, really pitiful Babe Ruth right here. Look at this sad-looking thing. Sad piece of garbage. Lot number 413. Authenticated by Stat. And if you read the auction, it reads something like, certified by the experts at Stat who help authenticate for the Babe Ruth Museum. I don't think so. That's pretty funny. Now, I'm going to do a couple Beatles stuff here. This is lot number 794, authenticated by Morales authenticates a lot of this Beatles crap. And Coach's Corner has like 2 of these up at least every month. There's only 11 in the whole United States, but these guys sell about 24 every year. Think about that. None of them ever authenticated by the major authentication services, and none of them go for big bucks. Again, here's another one. Lot number 913 on a Let It Be album. Unbelievable. Appraised at, according to the auction description, it's appraised at $2,900. You got to be kidding me. If this is authentic, it would be more like $15,000 to $20,000 or more. Jeez, appraised at $2,900. Lee Tractor and Scott Malik of Coach's Corner. Like I said, they have 2 of these up every single month. So that's it for tonight. I ran out of ink. Can't do any more videos till tomorrow. But I will see you guys again tomorrow night.